Though we love Marvel and DC, there's a whole multiverse to explore and hidden, or not so hidden, gems to enjoy. 10. Love and Rockets. Created by the Hernandez brothers, this long-running indie landmark blends punk rock, magical realism, and a slice of life storytelling. It jumps between small-town drama, Latin American myth, and alternative culture scenes, offering rich, character-driven stories that reward patient, detail-oriented readers, so definitely check that out. 9. Black Hammer. Black Hammer takes classic superhero archetypes and asks what happens after the big, universal saving battle is over. A group of heroes are trapped in a rural, like Twilight Zone town they cannot leave, and the series becomes a commentary on superhero history, nostalgia, and the cost of donning a super identity. 8. Lock and Key. This horror-like, dark, contemporary fantasy follows a family in a creepy old mansion filled with magical keys that unlock bizarre powers or even hidden realities. It balances a coming-of-age drama with genuinely, unsettling supernatural threats, making the house itself feel like a living, dangerous character. This series was actually so popular, it ended up getting a live-action Netflix adaptation. 7. Y, The Last Man. The hook for this story really grabs your attention. Every mammal with a Y chromosome suddenly dies, except for one guy and his pet monkey. The series explores politics, gender, religion, global infrastructure through that premise, making it perfect for anyone who enjoys the What If style comics or unconventional world building. 6. Sin City. Drawn in stark black and white, this neo-noir series from Frank Miller is basically a love story to gritty crime movies and pulp paperbacks. It's full of anti-heroes, corrupt cops, and over-the-top violence, all delivered with a stylized intensity. Some fans consider the gritty nature to go so far that it almost becomes parody, but find a love for the story because it is unapologetically Frank Miller. 5. Hellboy. This paranormal, demonic, investigative comic is a goth dream world. There's occult rituals and ancient gods with a moody sensibility. The devil himself is a big player. Hellboy is a world-weary blue-collar demon who would rather punch a monster and crack a joke than embrace his apocalyptic destiny, which gives the horror a very human center. There is a film series based on the character, the first of the bunch, being directed by none other than Guillermo del Toro. 4. Bone. This is more for the younger crowd because, we all start somewhere. Bone begins as a cartoony, comedic fantasy about 3 goofy cousins lost in a mysterious alley and slowly turns into an epic war story. Its charm lies in the contrast between the simple, cute character designs and surprisingly deep emotional stakes and classic adventure vibe, perfect for young and mature audiences to enjoy. 3. Saga. Described as a sweeping space opera about star-crossed lovers, how could you refuse? Parents from warring alien races attempt to protect their daughter while the entire galaxy hunts them. The Image comic series mashes fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and dark humor into a brutally honest story about family trauma and survival. It's also inspired by Star Wars, if that helps your decision. 2. The Walking Dead. This comic was made into a TV show that became so popular you wouldn't even know that it was on paper first. Though the show, it is a great watch, of course. Its source material is also a very great read. It, of course, uses the zombie apocalypse as a backdrop for a relentless study of human nature when society completely collapses. It is grim, it's a slow burn storytelling that focuses less on monsters and more on how far people will go to protect their own. Humanity decays in more ways than one. And number 1, finally, Invincible. Again, this comic has graduated to a very popular animated TV series on Amazon, but likely due to the fact that this is more of a traditional superhero thing, people do know about the comics. Though the story looks like the bright traditional superhero coming-of-age stuff you've seen before, it shocks you with graphic violence and heavy emotions. Whatever bad day you're having, Mark Grayson is probably out having a worse one.
Today we're diving deep into the Invincible universe to explore the top 10 alternate versions of our favorite hero, Mark Grayson. If you're a fan of the comics or the animated series, you know that things can get pretty wild with alternate realities and dimensions. And that means alternate versions of Invincible himself. We'll be drawing on information from the comics, the animated series, and even fan wikis to bring you the most complete picture of these fascinating characters. Before we get started with the countdown, let's quickly recap who Invincible is. Mark Grayson is a half-human, half-Viltrumite superhero with incredible strength, speed, and flight. He's basically Superman with a bit more angst and a whole lot more family drama. But what if things had gone differently in his life? What if he made different choices or faced different challenges? That's where these alternate versions come in. But first, we need to talk about the Invincible War. This epic storyline from the comics sees a villain named Angstrom Levy exact his revenge on Invincible by gathering alternate versions of Mark Grayson from across the multiverse. These alternate Marks are not the heroic Invincible we know and love. They are twisted reflections, often driven by anger, violence, and a lust for power. Levy unleashes this army of evil Invincibles upon Mark's world, leading to a devastating conflict that pushes our hero to his limits. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get this countdown started. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Bulletproof Invincible, a fascinating glimpse into a what-if scenario that hits close to home. This version of Mark Grayson sports the very costume designs that our primary Invincible initially discarded, a visual cue that immediately sets him apart. In the comics, his appearance is tragically brief, a fleeting moment within the chaos of the Invincible War. He arrives late to the conflict, only to be swiftly and brutally dispatched by the Reanimen, a stark reminder of the war's unforgiving nature. However, the animated series grants Bulletproof Invincible a more substantial role, showcasing his presence earlier in the narrative and allowing him to interact with the unfolding events in a more meaningful way. This divergence between the comic and animated portrayals underscores a crucial element of exploring alternate versions, their malleability and the capacity for significant variations depending on the source material. It highlights how even seemingly minor choices, like costume design, can lead to drastically different destinies across the vast expanse of the Invincible multiverse. At number 9, we encounter Viltrumite Invincible, a chilling reflection of Mark Grayson's potential descent into tyranny. This version of Mark stands as a stark contrast to the hero we know, fully embracing his Viltrumite heritage and pledging unwavering allegiance to the Empire. He proudly dons the distinctive Viltrumite uniform, a symbol of his commitment to their conquest, complete with the Empire's insignia prominently displayed. This visual cue immediately signals his divergence from the path of Earth's protector. He embodies the terrifying possibility of what Mark could have become had he succumbed to his father's ideology, joining Omni-Man in the brutal subjugation of Earth. This version of Mark serves as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between free will and destiny, highlighting the constant struggle against the inherent power and potential for corruption that comes with his Viltrumite lineage. It's a glimpse into a dark future where Mark's empathy and sense of justice are replaced by unwavering obedience and a thirst for dominance, a chilling testament to the what-if scenarios that haunt the Invincible universe. Sliding into number 8, we plunge into the grim reality of Prison Invincible, a version of Mark Grayson forged in the fires of brutal captivity and fueled by an unquenchable thirst for vengeance. This iteration of Mark is a harrowing spectacle, his once vibrant features now etched with the harsh lines of suffering. His head is shorn bald, a stark symbol of his dehumanization, and his body is a canvas of scars, each a silent testament to the torturous year he endured as a prisoner of the Viltrumites. Clad in a tattered, gray prison uniform, he is a walking embodiment of his confinement, a constant reminder of the indignities he suffered. This version of Mark is not the hopeful hero we know. He is a volatile and dangerous force, his spirit twisted by pain and his heart consumed by a burning desire for retribution. He is a powder keg of rage, ready to explode at any moment, unleashing his fury upon anyone who dares to cross his path. His actions during the Invincible War, including the devastating attack on Moscow, leave a trail of destruction that underscores the terrifying consequences of unchecked rage and the profound impact of prolonged suffering. Prison Invincible serves as a chilling reminder that even the most powerful heroes can be broken and reshaped into instruments of destruction. Securing the 7th spot is Flaxen Invincible, a compelling variation that invites us to ponder the profound impact of environment and allegiance on a hero's trajectory. This version of Mark Grayson is a striking visual departure, garbed in the distinctive blue and gray armor of the Flaxens, the interdimensional invaders who posed a significant threat to Earth in the early stages of Invincible's narrative. This attire immediately signals a radical divergence from Mark's familiar path, hinting at a reality where his formative experiences were drastically altered. It suggests a scenario where Mark might have been raised within Flaxen society, adopting their culture and aligning himself with their objectives. Alternatively, Alternatively, it could imply a complex alliance forged through unforeseen circumstances, leading him to fight alongside the Flaxans against his own homeworld. The very concept of Invincible wielding his immense powers in service of the Flaxan agenda paints a vivid picture of a world turned upside down. This alternate version serves as a powerful thought experiment, prompting us to consider how crucial factors like upbringing, cultural immersion, and loyalty can shape a hero's moral compass and ultimately determine their role in the grand tapestry of the Invincible multiverse. Taking the 6th spot is Omni-Man Invincible. This Mark cuts an imposing figure in his red and white suit, a mirror image of Omni-Man's own attire. This suggests a reality where Mark not only rejected his father's ideology, but also took his life and assumed his mantle. This raises chilling questions about the cyclical nature of violence and the potential for even the most heroic figures to become what they despise. At the halfway point, we have long-haired Invincible. This Mark stands out with his flowing shoulder-length hair and a modified Invincible costume with short sleeves. While his backstory remains shrouded in mystery, his unique appearance hints at a different journey and perhaps a more rebellious spirit than our main Invincible. Number 4 is Hooded Invincible. This Mark is instantly recognizable with his distinctive blue hood that drapes over his head, concealing his features and adding an air of mystery to his persona. He's a formidable fighter, engaging in intense battles with other heroes during the Invincible War. Coming in at number 3 is Mustache Invincible. This Mark sports a thick Viltrumite-style mustache and a variation of the Viltrumite uniform. This suggests a possible connection to the Viltrum Empire, perhaps as a former soldier or a loyal follower. His appearance raises questions about the different ways Mark could have embraced his Viltrumite heritage without necessarily turning into a villain like Omni-Man. In the runner-up spot, we have Mohawk Invincible. This Mark is a truly intimidating figure, with a fierce mohawk, a black and blue suit, and an aggressive demeanor. In his reality, he rose to become the Emperor of the Viltrumite Empire, showcasing the potential for Mark to become a ruthless and tyrannical ruler. He's a key player in the Invincible War, causing widespread destruction and showcasing his immense power. And finally, the number 1 alternate version of Invincible is Sinister Invincible. This Mark is the epitome of evil, a truly terrifying figure who embodies the darkest aspects of Invincible's potential. He murdered his own mother and revels in violence and destruction. In his universe, he even killed Omni-Man, showcasing his ruthlessness and power. Sinister Invincible is a central figure in the Invincible War, leading the charge against our main Invincible and posing a significant threat to his world. That's quite a multiverse of Marks. From the tragic bulletproof Invincible to the terrifying sinister Invincible, it's clear the Invincible universe isn't afraid to explore the darkest possibilities of its hero. These alternate versions highlight the importance of choices, the potential for corruption, and the strength of the Mark Grayson we know and love.
Number 10, Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is a character that currently belongs to the publisher Oni Press. He is also a fellow Canadian like Logan. Of course, Scott just appears to be a young man without any powers at first glance, but don't be fooled. He has shown extraordinary courage and skill when it comes to defeating Ramona's evil exes. Now, I'm not saying that Wolverine would be an evil ex. Most of his exes are dead, to be honest, but he has also slept with quite a few people. I mean, every superhero saw a lot of action in the 90s, in my opinion. And Logan was no exception there. So it is possible that Wolverine might end up being a surprise evil ex that Scott could come up against. And if he did, I bet he'd track Scott down and surprise him, which seems to be a good way to have Scott defeat you. Matthew Patel ended up catching Scott off guard and as a result was handily defeated. As long as Scott doesn't have time to get inside his own head, he's a powerful foe. Number 9, Butcher. Billy Butcher is known as being one of the most feared men among his world of supers in the series, The Boys. If he came into the Marvelverse, I'm sure he'd have no trouble disposing of Wolverine just like he would any other superhero. While he may not have Wolverine's insane healing factor or adamantium-infused skeleton, Butcher is known for his ruthlessness, his cunning, and his ability to think fast. He is also astoundingly strong and agile. Combine this with the fact that he almost never backs down, and he would definitely be an indie hero who could defeat Wolverine. Number 8, Haunt. Haunt is the combined consciousness of 2 brothers, Daniel and Kurt Kilgore. Daniel is a corrupt priest who abhorred his brother, while Kurt was a spy and assassin who ended up dying as a result of his profession. Kurt, as a spirit, found himself accidentally combined with Daniel in his body during an attack on Kurt's widow, Amanda. Now combined, the two became the ectoplasm fused and fueled nightmare known as the Haunt. With Kurt's secret agent knowledge and skills in their new Venom-esque and Spider-Man-like spiritual powers, the two brothers within one being are now super agile, super strong, and nigh invulnerable, making them the perfect match for Logan, even with his years of samurai training and experience. Number 7. Spawn. Spawn's demonic cape honestly itself would likely have a good chance of defeating Wolverine, especially in combination with his telepathically linked and early on somewhat self-sentient suit. But for fun, let's also talk about some of the other ways that Spawn could beat Wolverine. Other than his cape, suit, and chains, he also has super strength and speed. He's super agile, he's got necrotic energy blasts, is somewhat immortal, and can teleport. Teleportation alone is an insanely powerful ability when coming up against someone like Wolverine. I've always just felt like any teleporter, you could just teleport him away. Granted, Spawn can really only teleport himself, it seems, but who knows? Maybe he can teleport other people too. We don't know. Number 6, Korra. You might wonder where Aang is on this list if we're talking about avatars. I thought of putting him on here, but ultimately thought his pacifism might be a downside when it comes to taking on Wolverine. Plus, Korra is my favorite avatar. Aang could definitely restrain Wolverine indefinitely and possibly persuade him to stop fighting, but Korra has the potential to completely destroy Wolverine depending on what they're fighting over. She's more ruthless and a little more reckless when it comes to her fighting style, and I think this would give her an edge when it comes to taking on Logan. But then again, any avatar could defeat Wolverine. At their most powerful, they can control all the elements on a master level and have the avatar state, which basically gives them godlike power. So while not invincible or invulnerable fully, they don't really need to be in order to take down Wolverine. Not everybody has to be invulnerable to take down Wolverine, by the way. Number 5, Invincible. Speaking of invincible things, someone who could match and surpass Wolverine in regards to his abilities would definitely be Mark Grayson, aka Invincible from Image Comics. He's the son of Omni-Man, another superpowered being from the universe, which is why he grows up to become a superhero himself, sort of following in his father's footsteps. The story has some great twists, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. Instead, let's focus on Invincible's abilities. He has super strength and enhanced healing factor, super speed, flight, and invulnerability, making him a perfect match for Logan, as they have a similar power set. Also, it's established early on that Invincible can bench press at least 400 tons. So, although they have similar power sets, Invincible is considered way stronger than Wolverine, who at his strongest could probably only lift a single ton, maybe 2 tons. Number 4, Divinity. Abram Adams is from the Valiant universe of heroes. He's a Russian astronaut who ended up getting cosmic powers that granted him the ability to warp reality and basically turned him into a god. When he, as Divinity, returned to Earth, he started to grant people's wishes for a brief time, and his fellow astronauts and comrades, Mishka and Casimir, even warped reality to create the Stalinverse. Reality warping powers are a quick and easy way to disperse of Wolverine, and while he does have some telepathic resistance, I don't think he'd be prepared for the likes of Divinity. The only thing that might stop these two from tangling is that Divinity sometimes prefers to avoid getting involved in conflict, so he might choose to not engage with Logan depending on the circumstances. But still, if Logan was insistent, he'd probably just be like, "You gone." Number 3, Dream. While some might not consider Dream to be a superhero, in his own series, Sandman, he definitely is. He is the one that we root for, and while initially he's a bit more of an anti-hero, throughout the comics he becomes more and more of a good and kind entity with the intentions of doing what is right, and taking into consideration how his actions impact others in a way that he wouldn't have previous to his imprisonment. Within his realm, the Dream Realm, he is all-powerful, and being one of the Endless, he can never truly be defeated. If he were to take Wolverine into his Dream Realm, and perhaps even if they fought on Earth, Dream would likely still defeat him. Now, whether or not you consider Vertigo, which was an imprint of DC, indie or not, is kinda up to you, but I like to think of indie as being anything that is not explicitly Marvel or DC. And while Vertigo is owned by DC, or was owned by DC, and there is some overlap in regards to characters there, I still would like to think of Vertigo as a smaller and indie publisher. And besides, we have to give it a nice little nod as it no longer exists anymore. Sad. Number 2, Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez appears in the Rick and Morty comics made by Oni Press. That's right, there are comics too. Zach Gorman is often the writer behind the comic series involving Rick and Morty. So not only can we now watch their adventures in the television show created by Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, but now you can read about them too. They also have a ton of board games that are based in the Rick and Morty universe as well, and a lot of them are actually pretty good if you like board games. All the Rick and Morty, 100 years Rick and Morty, forever and ever Rick and Morty. If you know Rick Sanchez and what he is capable of, you know he would be able to come up with some kind of device or poison to kill Wolverine instantly. I imagine the whole thing would go down similarly to the episode where he kills the president's security guard with an instant death touch. Now, while Rick is more of an anti-hero, he saved the world enough times that I think we can loan him an honorary superhero title for the purpose of this list. He's definitely done a lot of good things. Sure, he kills a lot of people, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta do that. Obviously, if I were a superhero, I'd be an anti-hero. Number 1, Saitama. So, this one kind of depends on where the fight goes down, but if Saitama fought against Wolverine in his own story, like if Wolverine just popped up in the world of One Punch Man, Saitama would definitely beat Logan. In his universe, the whole point of his character is that he's basically the strongest person alive, basically an unbeatable Superman in his own world. Not that anyone will give him credit for that. In the world of Marvel, I'm not sure if he'd be as powerful, but I like the idea of Saitama battling the entire X-Men squad and just pretty much messing everything up. I'd like to think that people have enough respect for him in terms of fans, not in terms of his own world per se, that we'd accept him totally kicking Logan's butt. Just one punch and Logan's done.
Number 10, Aaron Slaughter. Aaron Slaughter is not quite as new as some of the others on this list, but I really wanted to shout him out and the series he's from, so I'm extending my definition of new for just that purpose. By about a year. He is from a series that I can't quite say the name of here on the YouTubes, so instead we are going to use an acronym. Is that cool with you? It's cool with me. We're going to use the acronym of SIKTC. What can I say? It is a title that has the word killing in it, so there's a hint if you're looking to look it up. And it's about basically monster hunters and the people that they help as they travel around trying to eliminate vicious creatures who prey on innocents. Erica Slaughter is the first monster hunter we are introduced to through the series, and Aaron Slaughter is basically kind of like her adoptive brother. He not only appears in SIKTC, making his first appearance in issue number 3, I believe, of that series, but also now appears in the spin-off title House of Slaughter. SIKTC and Aaron Slaughter are both properties coming from Boom Studios. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, why not show us that you love us by clicking that like button? Why not show indie comics that you love them? Because let's be honest, they deserve it. They deserve a thumbs up. Give it to them. Number 9, Gunslinger Spawn. Gunslinger Spawn is a hero who you may think of as old now, considering he first made a very brief first appearance on a cover back in 2002. But this gunslinger that we're talking about here is not the same Gunslinger Spawn as the one that first appeared back in 2002, and later got his origin story shared in 2008. This Gunslinger Spawn is not old Job, but instead Jovi, who is much younger and also is believed to be Mexican in regards to his heritage. His initial appearance was a bit of a mystery, with people simply wondering how Gunslinger Spawn had made his way to the future. But in issue number 3 of the Gunslinger Spawn series, we learned that this Gunslinger Spawn was definitely not who we expected when he left his Spawn form, revealing a completely different face from the one we'd expected when we believed he was Old Job. While there is still much for us to learn about Jovi in regards to his past and his origin, it is implied that Old Job's Hellspawn powers were somehow passed on to him. This version of Gunslinger Spawn first appeared back in Spawn issue 308 in July of 2020. Later in Spawn Universe issue number 1, we would see him featured in a short story at the end of the comic where he had no discernible face, which is what made people assume that he was the original Gunslinger Spawn we were first introduced to back in the early 2000s. Number 8, Ellipses Howl. Ellipses Ellie Howl is one of the main characters from Crossover. Crossover is an ongoing Image Comics series that's currently on hiatus that jumps into the real world, telling the story of a literal crossover that happens between the comic book world and everyday Earth. As heroes and villains jump into the real world, chaos ensues, and it's up to the main characters to find a way out of this mess and back home. Ellipses Howl is one of these main characters. She herself is actually a fictional character, but a seemingly everyday everyday person, despite being fictional. She's also one of the last few people in her story who is considered a true believer when it comes to the world of fiction and superheroes. She dresses up as one and has recently been seen in the comics wielding a sword that allows her to create portals into other worlds. I don't know about you, but I'd say that both her intentions and her ability to wield a badass portal creating sword makes her pretty heroic. Also, Ellie has a really cool name that definitely implies she is the one who has the symbolic thematic power to deal with this problem best. She was named Ellipses because her mom believed ellipses represent the idea of the impossible and the great unknown, and that her daughter would be capable of anything. Ellipses makes her first appearance in crossover issue number 1, which was released through Image in November of 2020. Number 7. Radiant Black. Radiant Black is now a couple different people, but originally it was Nathan Burnett, who made his first appearance in Radiant Black issue number 1 and adopted the persona of Radiant Black, eventually brainstorming up his superhero name afterwards with his best friend Marshall. Radiant Black is basically like Power Rangers but for adults, and a series that involves a lot more mystery than the Power Rangers premise, which is pretty front-loading when it comes to the lore behind the Power Rangers in terms of their origin, where their powers come from, and why they were entrusted with these powers in the first place. In Radiant Black, many of these questions go unanswered to start, with us being given little hints along the way as to what is really going on with these Radiants and their hosts. Honestly, it's a brilliant series, and one that has not only given us a super cool new hero in Radiant Black, but has also given us a super cool new cast of heroes with the Radiants, and beyond, a super cool new universe to explore with the Massiveverse. Radiant Black issue number 1 was released via Image in February of 2021. Number 6. Berserker. The character that we initially only know as B is the protagonist of the series Berserker from Boom Studios. He is an ancient warrior, half god, half mortal, who is fighting to learn the truth of his origins and also to learn how to finally put an end to his life, as he is constantly driven towards bloodshed. He ends up accepting a mission to fight for the United States, participating in crazy, perilous, and deadly battles in exchange for this information on his own life. This series was written by Matt Kindt in collaboration with Keanu Reeves, which was where the hype came from for it, but it seems to have been a series that really delivered on this hype because a lot of people love it. While I have yet to read it myself, I have talked to those who have, and there are quite a few out there who just really love this series. It's definitely one that I need to read. The first issue of Berserker was released in March of 2021 and featured the mysterious bloodthirsty bee, who we'd later come to know as Berserker, and it's a property from Boom Studios. Number 5. Twig. Who is Twig? Only the cutest adventuring hero that you will ever meet. He is so endearing, it makes me want to cry. Twig hails from his own self-titled series and begins issue number 1 by starting off on a journey. He has taken up the position that once belonged to his father as the new placeling. What is a placeling exactly? In this magical land, it is a crucial hero who actively saves the world on basically a daily basis, going out and undertaking massive and arduous quests. Twig never really wanted to be a placeling, he wanted to be a chef, but as a result of what suddenly happened to his father, he happens to be really the only one suitable and qualified to take up this position. Twig is just such a sweet character, like kind of a lovable goof, who does his best to live up to the responsibilities passed down to him. Also, the art in this book and the writing will not only make you fall in love with him, but also his best buddy, who resembles a banana slug, Splat, and honestly, the whole world, which kind of has like a Dark Crystal sort of feel to it. Twig is from Image Comics and made his first appearance in issue number 1 of his own series in May of 2022. Number 4. Rogue Sun. Rogue Sun is one of the newer heroes that we've gotten in the Massiveverse, so yes, there are Radiants and Radiant Black, but they aren't the only heroes in Kyle Higgins' Massiveverse. In the one-shot Supermassive from February 2022, we began to crack the world wide open and were introduced to 2 completely new heroes who existed in the same sort of universe, but not really in the same series, if that makes sense, as Radiant Black. One of them was Rogue Sun. Rogue Sun is actually a legacy hero, and after the death of the original Rogue Sun, Marcus Bell, his son, Dylan Siegel, is called upon to take his father's place. One major problem: Dylan isn't even sure he wants any of this, and he has a more than shaky relationship with his dad, even now knowing and understanding that all this time he was a superhero, and hence he may have had some somewhat valid reasons for his absence. And what's more, the powers powers that he inherits also seem to come with quite a bit of a catch in that regard. He kind of has to live with his dad's ghost in his head. Number 3. Inferno Girl Red. Inferno Girl Red! This is a hero I've been waiting to see come out in the comics for some time, ever since I first saw her appear. Well, Inferno Girl Red has only just had her solo series start to come out, which is limited, with 3 issues existing in book 1 of her series, which I believe implies there will be multiple books to this series. Inferno Girl Red herself first appeared in the supermassive one-shot in February 2022, just like Rogue Sun. However, we wouldn't get her in her solo series, where we'd get to learn even more about Cassia Costa, the girl behind Inferno Girl Red, until January of 2023, with issue number 1 also coming from Image, where of course all the Massiverse is published and exists. In solicitation for the first issue, Cassia earns her place on this list as one of our newest ever superheroes from Indie Comics. She is literally described as, and I quote, the newest Image Comics superhero. In the first issue, we learn of how Cassia Costa was mysteriously chosen to become the new Inferno Girl Red after her world was turned upside down in an instant. It feels like we're taking the category of magical girl to a whole nother level and also mixing in some like fabulous future sci-fi stuff with it, which I love because I love both of those categories. Number 2, The Chosen One. Vanish is just such a cool concept for a comic, and the main character is no exception to the amount of awesome involved here. If you love magical stories, this takes that idea and kind of just like turns it on its head. It answers the question of what happens to young heroes after the evil threat has been vanquished. But it takes a darker turn than most typical happy endings. In Vanish, we follow Oliver Harrison, who is that once young hero, the chosen one grown up. In a world now seemingly devoid of magic, he is haunted by the nightmares from his past and plagued by his own inner demons that he desperately tries at all costs to escape, all while seemingly living an otherwise mundane life. However, Oliver isn't just a washed up former hero. He actually still has held on to a good amount of magic and skills from his past, and must use them to take action once more when a potential new threat appears on the horizon after more than about 20 years apiece, I'd say. Oliver's story is like what would happen to Harry in his adult years if he really didn't want to let go of his past glory and then learn that the Justice League was actually all made up of former Death Eaters. Number 1. Phaedra Essex. Detective Phaedra Essex is the main character of the series Black Cloak. She definitely has an extremely interesting backstory beyond even just her present day story as a detective working in the last known city in all of the world, the city of Kyros. The land Phaedra and her story inhabits is kinda like a cyberpunk world meets a fantasy land where magic still exists but is mostly seemingly coveted by the royals of this land, the privileged few. Phaedra herself used to be a royal, or is a royal, but you know, one who has been exiled, so no longer acknowledging that status. The story only has 1 issue so far, so really she's quite new when it comes to like her appearance and what's going on with her. So we don't know that much about her just yet, but what we do know is that she is determined and unafraid of putting herself in dangerous situations, that is for sure. Phaedra made her first appearance in Image Comics in Black Cloak issue number 1 in January 2023.
And at number 10, Punk Mambo. From the Valiant universe, Punk Mambo is a series about a hard-living voodoo priestess, raised in London, relocated to the Bayou. A mystical mercenary for hire, often helping the wayward, troubled, and damned with what afflicts them, she does it for a price, often a steep one. Mambo, whose real name is Victoria Greaves Trott, is described as a street-savvy British punk with a rich cultural history of voodoo, and she battles the forces of evil too. So, what is this priestess capable of? Astral projection, hypnosis, illusion casting, magic, duh, necromancy, longevity, she doesn't age, and unarmed combat. She also has enhanced senses. Neat. Next up, in at number 9, Blue Boy. Blue Boy is a character from Fables, a series published by Vertigo, which, yes, is owned by DC, but cut us some slack here, friends. The series features characters from fairy tales and folklore who call themselves Fables, and live in a centuries-old community within New York City after their homelands were conquered by a deadly and mysterious enemy known as the Adversary. Blue is known as a hero, and he was a former farmhand and warrior before becoming a clerk at the business office in Fabletown. And he's magical! He's immortal, as all Fables are, and carries around something called a Vorpal Blade, which can cut through most spells and enchantments. He also has a witching cloak which acts as an impregnable armor that cannot be burned, stretched, or ripped. It also has an endless personal carrying capacity and can give the wearer shapeshifting abilities. I mean, crap, hook me up with one of those please. Where do I buy on Amazon? In at number 8, Marco from Saga. While Saga hardly feels like an indie comic these days and is published by Image Comics, it's definitely by far one of the best and most popular series outside of DC and Marvel series. Saga is the story of a fugitive family struggling to survive a galactic war between the Wreath and the Landfall. Alana and Marco, our somewhat protagonist parents, were born on opposite sides of the war, becoming star-crossed lovers who have a child, Hazel, who narrates the series. It's a sci-fi meets fantasy, and it's got its fair share of magic. Marco was born on Wreath and has magical abilities that are quite unique. He has disintegration abilities in which he uses the ingredients of secrets to disintegrate hostile plant life. He can use binding spells to trap enemies together. He has healing abilities, but for healing big wounds he requires snow as an ingredient in the spell. Now that last one is something that he can only do to others born on Wreath if he needs to heal them. And he's also capable of electrokinesis, in which he can summon lightning strikes. Up next, number 7, Dee from Rat Queens. Dee, which is short for Delilah, is a human cleric, an atheist, and a character who hails from a family of Lovecraftian monster cultists who praised a flying squid god called Nyrioth. Nyrioth? I'm probably saying that wrong. It's a squid god, so cut me some slack. She used to be the high priestess of said cult, but having become disillusioned by the horrible things her family worshipped, she left and began to travel on her own, which is how she met the other rat queens in the series. These days she mostly uses her magic for healing, but is also capable of necromancy, and she is skilled with a dagger. In at number 6, Snow White. Snow White is the deputy mayor of Fabletown, and is one of the main characters we follow throughout the series of fables. She was the first wife of Prince Charming before falling for Bigby Wolf and getting married to him. So, what is Snow capable of? A lot, actually. She's pretty bad. For starters, she's immortal like all fables, but her magical abilities are where it's at. She is a descendant of a particularly magical line, inheriting great natural power, and she reeks of elegant energies, according to Prince Brandish. She can conjure armor and weapons, and she can fly, which is pretty darn cool. She also has superhuman durability, which allows her to be virtually invulnerable. She's been shot in the head and has survived from it. In addition to that, she also speaks German, can manage the hell out of a business, and is an expert at fencing and knows her way around hand-to-hand combat. Up next, number 5, Witchblade. Witchblade, the series published by Top Cow Productions, follows a character named Sarah Panezzi, an NYPD homicide detective who comes across a gauntlet artifact. That artifact is Witchblade, a supernatural sentient piece of armor that bonds with a female host, providing her a ton of magical superpowers in order to fight off evil. Now the woman who wields Witchblade gets this laundry list of cool abilities. She can shapeshift, has superhuman strength and endurance, a healing factor which extends to fatal wounds, invulnerability, pyrokinesis, tactile healing, the healing of illnesses and wounds of other creatures, summoning for weapons and whatnot, and an adaptive armor which covers its host entirely depending on the situation. The armor is incredibly strong and impervious to firearms, explosives, and even energy blasts. But take that gauntlet off and oof, no bueno. Moving on to number 4, Lucifer. The Wicked and the Divine is a really awesome series. It's a contemporary fantasy comic book published by Image Comics, highly influenced by pop music, and follows various mythological deities. So of course Lucifer the fallen angel is in it. Lucifer is the devil and one of the gods of the pantheon in the Divine and the Wicked. She's pretty impressive in terms of her abilities. She's a pyrokinetic, able to produce fires as she pleases, and the ability to cause foes to combust. She can also use the ability to cause foes to combust, create entire walls of fire, or use it with such precision as to destroy bullets. She can also use this fire as a force field to protect herself, and she has the ability to grant powers to an extent, and can teleport to the underground. Speaking of the Divine and the Wicked, that brings us to our next number. In at 3, Laura Wilson. The narrative of the Divine and the Wicked follows our number here, Laura, who interacts with the Pantheon, a group of 12 people who are reincarnated deities. They end up getting supernatural powers, but there is a stipulation. They will die within 2 years as part of a 90-year cycle called the Recurrence. Laura briefly becomes the reincarnation of Persephone, the goddess of springtime, vegetation, flowers, fertility, nature, death, rebirth, and of course, the queen of the underworld. Moving on to number 2, Frau Tokenkinder. Frau Tokenkinder is from Fables, and she's known as the Black Forest Witch. She's a powerful member of the 13th floor in Fabletown, the group of witches and sorcerers who provide enhancements and spells that keep the community safe and cloak the magical nature of its inhabitants from the outside world. Often her spells come at a steep price. She's been around since the Paleolithic era. Her natural form is a beautiful young woman, but she normally appears as old. Also, she passed away. She's the former leader of the 13th floor. So when she was alive and kicking, what could she do, magically speaking? Well, for starters, she was immortal. She used to sacrifice 2 children a year so she wouldn't age. That is intense. She was capable of precognition, witchcraft that allowed her to self-resurrect, create her own spells, including the Death Curse, curse others, of course, magical energy blast, elemental manipulation, mind control, shapeshift, transmutation, portal creation, magical tool creation, and also had an extreme knowledge of all things occult. Yeah, not too shabby. And finally, and at number 1, Anake. Anake is the personification of inevitability, compulsion, and necessity in the divine and the wicked. Anake has immense powers and is considered one of the most powerful gods in the series. She is the one who acts as an advisor to the Pantheon, informs them that they are gods, and begins their incarnation. While she cares a great deal for the others, she always prioritizes the recurrence over the lives of the individuals. So, what can she do? She is capable of divine incarnation and bestowing powers, being the one who is in charge of each individual's ascension into godhood. She grants them the divine powers. She can manipulate and project energy. She likes to explode heads, and has a great deal of control over said power. She can atomize humans if she chose to do so. She can project force fields and siphon energy, and she's got an immense tolerance to pain. She's immortal, duh, and can split her consciousness into 2 entirely different bodies.
I adore Marvel and DC heroes as much as you do, but there is so much out there to be celebrated, and that is exactly what we are doing today. So let's count down some superheroes that are not owned by DC or Marvel. At number 10, because it is in his name, Ben 10. Ben 10, whose real name is Benjamin Tennyson, because of course it is, embarks on his superhero journey as a regular 10-year-old boy who discovers the Omnitrix, a powerful alien device that allows him to transform into 10 alien species, eventually even more, each with unique powers and abilities. Throughout his adventures, Ben matures from an impulsive kid into a responsible hero, facing intimidating villains and cosmic threats alongside his cousin Gwen and his grandpa Max. His powers are as diverse as the aliens that he can become, ranging from super strength and fire manipulation to time control and reality warping, making him one of the most versatile heroes in animation. Importantly, Ben 10 is not owned by Marvel or DC. The character and franchise were created by Man of Action and are produced by Cartoon Network, existing in a unique universe with its own deep lore, its cosmic societies, and original alien designs. What makes Ben 10 truly awesome is not just his ever-expanding arsenal of alien forms, but the rich storytelling, creative world building, and relatable character growth that have captivated multiple generations of fans and set the series apart from traditional superhero fare. Number 9. Spawn. Spawn, created by Todd McFarlane, is a groundbreaking anti-hero from Image Comics who stands apart from the Marvel and DC universes. The character began as Al Simmons, a government slayer who is betrayed and eliminated himself, only to be resurrected as a Hellspawn after making a deal with a demon to see his wife again. This Faustian bargain leads to a tortured journey of redemption and vengeance, with Spawn battling both heaven and hell while struggling to retain his humanity. His powers are vast and ever-evolving. He possesses superhuman strength, speed, and agility, but most notably, he once had his powers augmented to the same level as God or Satan. Spawn's living symbiotic costume grants him additional abilities, such as forming weapons and shields, and acts as both an armor and an ally. What makes Spawn especially awesome is not just his dark, complex story and visually striking design, marked by a tattered cape, chains, and a haunting mask, but also his status as a symbol of creator independence. Unlike many popular superheroes, Spawn is not owned by Marvel or DC. He is the flagship character of Image Comics, a company founded by artists seeking creative control and ownership of their creations. This independence has allowed Spawn to push boundaries in storytelling and art, making him a lasting icon and testament to the power of creator-driven comics. Number 8. Shark Boy and Lava Girl. The pop culture icons Shark Boy and Lava Girl are the imaginative superhero creations of a young boy named Max, who dreams up the vibrant world of Planet Drool. Shark Boy, a human-shark hybrid raised by great white sharks, possesses aquatic powers such as swimming at high speeds and sharp senses, while Lava Girl can generate and control lava and fire, though she struggles with her fiery touch. Together, they embark on a heroic journey to save Planet Drool from the corrupting influence of Mr. Electric and the villainous Minus, who threatens to extinguish the dream world. Unlike superheroes from Marvel or DC, Shark Boy and Lava Girl originate from the 2005 family adventure film directed by Robert Rodriguez, and they were primarily dreamed up by his own children. Their story resonates with themes of imagination, friendship, and overcoming adversity, making them awesome not just for their powers, but for inspiring creativity and courage in young audiences. Number 7. Danny Phantom. Danny Phantom, the alter ego of teenage Danny Fenton, embarks on a compelling superhero journey after an accident in his parents' ghost lab transforms him into a half-ghost hybrid with extraordinary powers. Initially a bit introverted, Danny grows into a confident hero dedicated to protecting both the human world and the ghost realm. His powers include flight, intangibility, invisibility, ghost rays, which are like energy blasts, and possession, with additional abilities such as duplication, force field creation, telekinesis, power absorption, cryokinesis, and the devastating ghostly whale, which is a powerful sonic attack. Danny Phantom is a unique creation of Nickelodeon, so not owned by major comic book companies, which adds to his distinct appeal. His blend of relatable teenage struggles and supernatural heroics, along with his evolving powers and strong moral compass, make Danny Phantom an awesome and enduring character in the superhero genre. At number 6, the diva to end all divas, Vampirella. Vampirella is a unique vampire superheroine whose journey begins on the red rich planet Draculon, where her vampiric race faces extinction due to droughts caused by twin suns. After encountering a crashed Earth spaceship and discovering humans had red in them, she traveled to Earth to fight the evil vampires and demons, aiming to redeem her dark heritage by protecting the innocent. Unlike mainstream superheroes, Vampirella is not owned by Marvel or DC, but originated from Warren Publishing in 1969 and has since been published by various independent companies, making her a distinctive figure outside the dominant comic book universes. Her powers include typical vampire abilities such as enhanced strength, agility, and bloodlust, but she channels these towards heroic ends, often struggling with her darker nature. Vampirella's complex backstory, blending sci-fi and horror elements, along with her anti-heroic stance and moral depth, make her an awesome and enduring character who breaks the mold of traditional superheroes. Halfway through, number 5, Moon Girl. So not Marvel's Moon Girl, of course, we're talking about Moon Girl from EC Comics, a fascinating golden age superhero whose journey began in 1947. Her secret identity is Claire Lune, a history teacher and also princess of an isolated group of warrior women. She fights evil using powers derived from a magical moon rock, which grants her the strength superior to any man and protection from harm. Moon Girl pilots a telepathically controlled flying moonship, combining mystical and technological elements in her adventures. She is an original creation of EC Comics, making her part of the public domain and distinct from the mainstream superhero universes. Her stories, created by Johnny Craig, Gardner Fox, and Sheldon Moldoff, blend mythic warrior traditions with crime fighting and sci-fi elements, offering a unique and compelling hero who predates many modern female superheroes. The character's revival in recent years by Comic Sexology and Red 5 Comics highlights her enduring appeal and the cool factor of a princess turned hero with a moonstone's power fighting to create a better world with courage and intelligence. Number 4, The Incredibles. Yes, are they owned by Disney? And is Marvel owned by Disney? Yes, but The Incredibles are not technically owned by Marvel, so it's fine. The Incredibles are a family of superheroes with a remarkable journey of balancing their extraordinary powers and everyday life in a world that doesn't accept them. Mr. Incredible possesses superhuman strength, Elastigirl, his wife, has incredible elasticity, their children also have unique powers, Violet can become invisible and create force fields, Dash has super speed, and baby Jack Jack exhibits an astonishing array of abilities including shape-shifting, teleportation, laser eyes, and a whole lot more, making him arguably the most powerful of the entire family. The Incredibles belong to Pixar and Disney, giving them a unique identity and storytelling style that blends family dynamics with the superhero action. Their greatness lies in the relatable family struggles combined with their heroic feats, showcasing that heroism comes in many forms, especially when united as a family. Number 3, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are a unique superhero team created in 1984, published by Mirage Studios as a parody of popular superhero comics at the time. The story follows 4 anthropomorphic turtles, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo, who were ordinary turtles mutated by radioactive ooze and trained in ninjutsu by their rat sensei, Splinter, to fight crime in New York City. Each turtle has distinct weapons and personalities, making their teamwork dynamic and engaging. TMNT originated from an independent comic published by Mirage Studios, and the franchise has grown into a multimedia phenomenon, including TV shows and films, video games, and toys, without being owned by the major comic giants. Their blend of martial arts action, humor, and brotherly camaraderie, combined with their quirky origin and pop culture references, makes them awesome and enduring icons in the superhero genre. Number 2, the best dressed on the list today, Megamind. Megamind is more than just his iconic fashion. He is a highly intelligent alien who embarks on a unique superhero journey that subverts traditional superhero tropes. Sent to Earth as a child after his home planet was destroyed by a black hole, Megamind lands in a prison yard and grows up as an outcast, unlike his nemesis Metro Man, who is raised in luxury. Initially a supervillain, Megamind defeats Metro Man and takes over the city, only to find that life is purposeless without a hero to oppose. Inspired by Roxanne Ritchie, he creates that new hero, Titan, but when Titan turns out villainous, Megamind must become the hero himself to save his city. His powers include high intelligence, mastery of advanced technology, and strategic thinking rather than traditional super strength or flight. Notably, Megamind is not owned by Marvel or DC, but it's actually a DreamWorks animation creation, making him a fresh and original character in the superhero genre. genre. His story is awesome because it blends humor, heart, and a clever inversion of classic superhero narratives, proving that even a former villain can become a true hero. And finally, at number 1, of course, it's Invincible. Mark Grayson is the man of the hour right now after a successful season in his title show, Invincible. Created by Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker and published by Image Comics since 2003, Invincible has proven time and time again that he can keep up with the major publishing houses like Marvel and DC. Mark Grayson was a typical teenager who discovers he has inherited superpowers from his father, Omni-Man, an alien Viltrumite and Earth's mightiest hero. Mark adopts the superhero name Invincible and embarks on a journey from fighting small-time crime to battling intergalactic threats, including a rebellion against the dangerous Viltrum Empire. His powers include super strength, flight, and durability inherited from his Viltrumite lineage. What makes Invincible especially compelling is its complex narrative that explores moral ambiguity, identity, and redemption, with characters often shifting between hero and villain roles. As a creator-owned property under Image Comics, Invincible stands out for its fresh storytelling outside the mainstream superhero giants, and its blend of vibrant art with mature themes has earned it critical acclaim and a dedicated fanbase, further boosted by its successful animated adaptation on Amazon Prime. This combination of a relatable coming-of-age story, deep character development, and high-stakes action makes Invincible an awesome and influential superhero saga.
Number 10. Le Fanu. Le Fanu is one of Vampirella's enemies and one of Dracula's oldest allies. She appeared during the first story arc of Vampirella's first series out of Dynamite from 2010. She was said to be Dracula's favorite vampire, an old vampire transformed during the French Revolution. Vampirella faced her in the beginning of the first arc of this run, and during this time she also met the ancient evil power known as Yagath Vermelis, which is believed for creating the very first vampires on planet Earth, giving them their ravenous thirst for blood. Number 9. The Rook. Okay, so I'll admit, Rook isn't really a character you need to know in order to understand Vampirella's backstory or anything, but he's a super interesting character who existed under the same publishing umbrella as where Vampirella got her start, Warren Publishing. In fact, back in the day, the Rook had one of the most popular series at Warren Publishing, where he and Vampy both started out, both being featured as well in the serial horror comic Eerie. During his Harris days, the two teamed up together as well in the miniseries Chains of Chaos. The Rook was Reston Dane, an adventurer who was also a scientist that possessed a time machine, which resembled the chess piece referred to as the Rook, hence his name as a character. He would also become a member of the supernatural secret organization known as Danse Macabre, whom Vampirella sometimes works with. Number 8. Chastity. Chastity was just your average American teenager until she was boom, transformed into a vampire. She is known for being one of the most popular bad girl characters of the 1990s. Early on, she became an effective vampire assassin due to the fact that for some reason or other, vampires could not sense her, giving her the element of surprise. Chastity has appeared in other comics alongside Vampirella or with other characters who are close to Vampy. She has recently also appeared in the new Dynamite series Sacred 6. Chastity's origins were later retconned during her time in Dynamite to explain how she has all the strengths of a vampire but none of their weaknesses. Now this is a lot less mysterious and is explained by the fact that Chastity is a rare human-vampire hybrid. Instead of being a trained assassin who as a teenager aspired to be an actress, she is a former gymnast, and in Sacred 6 it seems she became an actress who also performs her own stunts, although she brings a lot of sass with her, but she is Chastity, so. Number 7. Vicky Vincent. Kind of a big character for a while in the comics, as Vicky was, at time, Vampirella's girlfriend. Vicky fondly called Vampy Ellie for short. Vicky might just be a human, but she is a loyal and often brilliant companion to Ellie, and the two of them are pretty cute together. Not only does Vicky prove to be a great partner for Vampy, but Vampirella herself proves to be a great and loving girlfriend to Vicky as well. Vicky grew up with her mother who mistreated her, often making Vicky miss school and stay home to help her with her work. When she was a 10-year-old girl, her mother had Vicky earning for her, working alongside her mother as a mechanic. When she was 16 years old, she was kicked out. Running into Vampirella set her life down a path of thrilling adventure, and even during moments when you suspected Vicky may not be quite as loyal to Ellie as she appeared, she'd always prove that her love for Vampirella was truer than anything in the world. They're just so cute together. Vicky and Vampy. VV. Number 6. Pendragon. I love Pendragon so much. He's such a bizarre character.
At least he originally was. Pendragon has been around since the Warren Publishing days and has appeared in over 100 issues of Vampirella comics. That is a lot. He was a stage magician that worked at a carnival and was quite oafish and fond of drink. One day he became ensorcelled by a worshipper of the gods of chaos. Vampirella intervened, attracted by the forces of evil to the carnival, defeating those who controlled Pendragon. Touched by the fact that she had saved his life, Pendragon swore fealty to Vampirella, becoming her ally and joining her on her adventures, despite not being overly useful. Initially anyways. Since his first appearances though, Pendragon has become quite a bit more useful and is now a true and mighty wielder of magic. And not just a stage magician. Number 5. Mistress Nyx. Nyx is half human, half demon, and the daughter of one of Vampirella's enemies, the mad god Chaos. Nyx grew up destined to become the destroyer of worlds, full of violence and aggression, hating all humans even though she herself resembled a human and was born from one. So she is half human. It's like hating half of yourself. Her mother was a high priestess who worshipped chaos. It was ordained that Nyx would fight to avenge her people by killing Vampirella. Nyx would succeed in killing Vampirella and would unleash demons and vampires on Earth, believing she had won. However, Vampy would return to kill Nyx's lover, Hemorrhage, avenging her own lover, Adam's death. Poor Adam. But he's fine. Number 4. Lilith. There are a couple different stories when it comes to Lilith's role in Vampirella's story, but most people will likely know her as Vampy's mother. Taking inspiration from the biblical story of Lilith, we learn that she was thought of as the first woman and therefore the first wife of Adam, the first man, whom God created. Refusing to submit to her husband once created, she was banished from Eden. It is believed she had hundreds of children who were sired by demons. However, God saw fit to also curse Lilith for her actions, making it so that every day 100 of her children would perish. Jealous of Adam and Eve, whose children inherited the earth and were permitted to live, she sent her remaining children on a vengeful mission to torment the children of Earth. Later on, Lilith regretted doing so and instructed her favorite daughter, Vampirella, to eliminate her evil siblings, whom Lilith herself had unleashed on the world. Number 3. Pantha. Pantha is a longtime friend and sometimes rival or enemy of Vampirella's. She's known Vampy since their early days together as characters at Warren Publishing. Pantha herself is an ancient being originating from ancient Egypt. Back then, she was a high priestess to Ra and herself was worshipped as a lesser deity. Ra gave her powers, allowing her to change form into a panther. Full of bloodlust, Pantha killed many, but was in denial about her bloodlust ruling her, until it drove her to consume her own son. Ra cursed Pantha to roam the world for eternity, unable to ever find peace. Dynamite kind of has flipped the script somewhat on her origins recently, reinventing her as a panther who can turn into a human, as opposed to the other way around. Number 2. Adam Van Helsing. Adam Van Helsing is the son of vampire hunter Conrad Van Helsing, and is also a vampire hunter. Unsurprisingly, I think, just based on their family name. He's been around since the early days of Vampirella when she was at Warren Publishing, but this character has seemed to follow after her from publisher to publisher. Adam is one of Vampirella's true loves of her life. He fell in love with her the moment he met her, realizing that she was different from other vampires he and his father had encountered on Earth. She ended up teaming up with both Adam and his dad, working together as a team. The two were in love for a time, and even when Adam died, Vampirella continued to fight to protect him, eventually finding a way to bring him back to the world of the living. Number 1. Dracula. Dracula is often acknowledged as Vampirella's main arch nemesis. While Dracula is a character you may think you know based on comics from other publishers or novels, television and films which have featured him, if you aren't familiar with Vampy comics, then you don't know our version just yet. In the world of Vampirella, Dracula is an alien vampire who originated from the same planet as Vampy herself, Draculon. He was exiled from his home world and later would end up arriving on Earth before Vampirella, becoming known as the world's first and most famous vampire. He was the main villain featured in the 1996 Vampirella movie, which is something, I gotta say. If you haven't watched that movie, I don't know if you should, but you probably should, it's pretty ridiculous. Dracula is also often acknowledged as being the father of all evil vampires on planet Earth.
fat vampires.
He can manipulate his body at will, becoming a living battering ram or an unstoppable force of nature. He commands the very elements, bending fire, earth, and even time to his will. He's a one-man army wielding the power of 6,000 lost souls. You think you know Spawn? Think again. Today we are looking at Spawn's superpowers that you never knew he had. First up, he can modify his own density. Ever casually stopped a speeding car with your bare hands? Yeah, didn't think so, but for Spawn, it's a mundane Tuesday. This guy can manipulate the very fabric of his necroplasmic body, altering his density at will. He can become as ethereal as a wisp of smoke or as immovable as a mountain. Picture this, a hulking 500-pound behemoth suddenly transforming into an 8,000-pound juggernaut of impenetrable muscle and bone. One moment he's dodging bullets, the next he's a living, breathing roadblock, crumpling a speeding car like a discarded soda can. Now let's delve into the truly fascinating aspects of Spawn's physiology. His body isn't merely human, it's forged from necroplasm, a sentient symbiotic substance birthed in the infernal depths of hell. This otherworldly goo defies the laws of nature as we know them. He doesn't require organs, blood, or even oxygen to function. He simply is. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. Despite his demonic transformation, he retains the shell of his human form. A beating heart, a pair of lungs, a tangle of intestines, the whole package. Why? Perhaps it's a subconscious tether to his fading humanity, a haunting reminder of the man he once was. Or maybe it's just a twisted joke of his demonic creators. Whatever the reason, these lingering human elements make him incredibly difficult to destroy. You can sever his limbs, rip out his still beating heart, even obliterate him with explosives. He'll just keep coming back. Remember that time Violator, the demonic clown and Spawn's eternal nemesis, gleefully tore out his heart? Yeah, that didn't quite go as planned. Spawn simply regenerated, good as new, with a renewed thirst for vengeance. It's as if his body possesses a supernatural undo button for any injury, no matter how grievous. Talk about a convenient perk in the chaotic world of demon hunting. But even a powerhouse like Spawn requires a recharge every now and then. In his early days, his methods for replenishing his necroplasmic energy were, let's just say, unconventional. Imagine this, Spawn lurking in a shadowy alleyway, a swarm of insects erupting from his mouth. He'd literally devour these creepy crawlies, draining them of their life force and dark energy. Not exactly a sight for the faint of heart, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. He's since evolved, drawing sustenance from the evil that festers within the hearts of men, a more efficient, albeit morally ambiguous, power source. But Spawn's powers extend beyond the realm of human suffering. He also possesses a unique connection to the natural world, a verdant touch that allows him to command the very forces of nature. Thanks to a symbiotic bond with the Emerald Parliament of Greensworld, he can summon thorny vines to ensnare his foes, manipulate the earth to create devastating earthquakes, and even imprison malevolent deities beneath the planet's crust. Remember Urizen, the ancient soul-devouring deity? Spawn single-handedly brought him down, using his newfound powers to entomb him deep within the earth. Talk about a power move. Let's face it, if we didn't need to rely on our legs to get us from one place to another, we would try just about anything else. They did it in Star Trek all the time, and so does Spawn. Well, not all the time, since it apparently doesn't feel very good. Spawn has been known to teleport throughout the series, whenever he needs to either get the hell out of somewhere fast, or get into a place without being seen. He has been shown to do this in more than one way, so it isn't fully clear how he goes about it. In the example pictured here, he turns himself into a sort of snot that shoots through space to his desired location, where he reforms into his real body. In some other instances of teleportation, it appears that Spawn can travel through shadows. He might just pop out of a shadowy place where he wasn't before, or disappear into a shadow and reappear in an alleyway somewhere. Not only can he move from place to place, he can also hop from realities through portals. Frankly, his movement isn't at all limited when he decides he wants to go somewhere. When you get your powers directly from hell, it shouldn't come as a surprise that you have some control over fire. Not only can Spawn breathe hellfire at will, he can also control it on, in, and around him. Spawn's dominance over fire has enabled him to travel into and out of hell on multiple occasions, and he is able to shoot out energy bolts composed of necroplasm, which look a lot like hellfire itself. At one point, to demonstrate his powers, he essentially pukes hellfire just because he can. He doesn't require anything to create fire either, and can manifest it whenever and wherever he pleases. One of Spawn's greatest assets is his costume. A Spawn's costume is a living symbiote that entangles itself with a Spawn's nervous system and feeds on their necroplasm for energy. Al Simmons' suit is called Letha of the 7th House of K and is an immensely powerful entity on its own. With his costume, he can manifest and manipulate chains, spikes, armor, his size, and especially his cape, which is one of his greatest tools. Spawn relies on Letha constantly so that he can retain his powers. The suite even defends him subconsciously. Whenever Spawn is unconscious or just not paying attention to his surroundings, the costume will protect him in a multitude of ways. Now, let's revisit that whole regeneration thing. It's not just about shrugging off injuries. Spawn can literally rebuild himself from scratch. Lost a face in a brutal battle? No problem, he'll just stitch it back together with some necroplasm and a rusty shoestring. This guy prioritizes practicality over vanity. He once regenerated his entire body after being blown to smithereens, simply because he grew tired of existing as a sentient puddle of goo. Talk about dedication to the cause. He can even shape his necroplasm into weapons, armor, and even fully functional wings, allowing him to take to the skies and rain down hellfire upon his enemies. But here's the truly remarkable aspect of Spawn's power. He's not alone in his eternal struggle. He carries within him the tormented souls of 6,000 lost souls, collectively known as the Legion. These are the individuals who perished in the same fateful hour as Al Simmons, unknowingly bound to him in the afterlife. They are his spectral army, his support system, his unwavering connection to the humanity he left behind. He can summon them at will, unleashing a legion of ghostly warriors upon his unsuspecting foes. Sadly, their numbers dwindle with each passing battle. Every fallen soldier from the Legion takes a piece of Spawn with them, a constant and agonizing reminder of the cost of his war against the forces of darkness. And for the grand finale, the pièce de résistance of Spawn's power. Are you ready for this? He can manipulate time itself. Yes, you heard that right. He can literally freeze the world around him, creating a pocket of eerie stillness amidst the chaos of battle. Imagine the possibilities. Rearranging the battlefield to his advantage, outmaneuvering his enemies with precognitive precision, even taking a leisurely coffee break while the world remains frozen in time. This power is so incredibly overpowered that it rarely even made an appearance in the comics, but it serves as a testament to the sheer scope and potential of Spawn's abilities. A chilling reminder that he's not just a hellspawn, he's a force of nature. So there you have it, a glimpse into the mind-boggling, ever-evolving power of Spawn. He's a demon, a soldier, a reluctant savior, and a walking paradox, but the excitement doesn't stop there. With Todd McFarlane expanding the Spawn universe with new titles like King Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, and The Scorched, we're seeing a whole new era of Hellspawn rising. These new characters, each with their own unique powers and motivations, are set to challenge the status quo and redefine the boundaries of the Spawn universe. Will these new Hellspawn be allies or enemies to Al Simmons? Will they challenge his authority or seek his guidance?